this. Hello everyone, this is Rachel Lozano and this is Real World Baking, episode 6, and we will be doing a Dutch dream cake. So there is a way to say that in Dutch, but I'm just not even going to attempt it because I'll just embarrass myself.
Actually, it might not be Dutch, it might be Danish, I think.
We are going to be making a Danish dream cake. Now, I could attempt to say that in Danish, but really I would just embarrass myself. So we're just going with Danish dream cake. I'll do the co-host thing now so that you can splice it in. And joining me today is my lovely co-host and husband, John Lozano. Now, this got started because my husband and me are nerds of Lord of the Rings, and he has been listening to the podcast, The Friendship Onion, which is made by the two hobbits, Billy Boyd and Dom Monaghan, who played Pippin and Merry. And they mentioned this cake on their podcast, and because we are such nerds, we couldn't help but give it a try and give them a shout out. So today we are going to be trying out our favorite hobbit's favorite dream cake. So a little bit of an update with us. We are now almost 22 weeks pregnant. This is not a burrito, it is a baby the size of a burrito. As you can see, we have started updating our kitchen and are very organized now. We are starting the process of making room for baby, and there is a big process of nesting that needs to happen that is either hormones or just my own brain needing to have everything organized in time. All right, so here are our ingredients for the base of the cake. We start out with 300 grams of sugar, 4 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, although technically the recipe is for vanilla sugar, but I don't have any of that. 280 grams of flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 deciliters of milk, and 70 grams of lightly salted butter. So then for the topping, 130 grams of butter, 175 grams of coconut flakes, 1 deciliter of milk, and 260 grams of brown sugar. So the first thing that we are going to do is whip the vanilla, the sugar, and the eggs together. The instructions say the longer you whip it, the better. So here we go. Sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. If I can get this open. Honey.
Honey, can you open this?
Woo! So this is actually our homemade vanilla, which we just made by using vanilla beans, and most people will use vodka as the alcohol, but we actually used brandy. 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 4 eggs. Alright, so we're just gonna start whipping this. So the recipe doesn't say how frothy it's supposed to get, it just says to keep beating it, and I'm not sure if they used a KitchenAid or just mixed it by hand. This is really light, it's fluffy, I'm gonna call it good, and hopefully that'll be enough mixing. Our next set of instructions is to mix the baking powder with the flour and put it through a sieve. So I'm just gonna mix it all together. It'll mix as it's going through so it doesn't get clumpy. Don't want clumpy flour. So now we are actually moving to the stove. So the instructions say to cut the butter into cubes and then to heat it with the milk, but not to let it boil. So here we have our butter, and make sure the heat is low so that I don't accidentally boil it. This will take a minute. Cold milk.
close is it?
It's close. All the butter needs to melt. You still have a few chunks.
You're not referring to your husband, are you? Are you?
Okay, so all the butter is melted. So I'm going to turn off the heat. And at this point, we combine everything together. All right, so I'm going to slowly add the flour mixture to the egg and sugar mixture. We switched from the whisk attachment to the beater attachment.
What'd you find?
I don't know.
Did it belong to a cat?
No. I think it was a tiny bit of shell. All right. And I'm going to do this very slowly so that it doesn't cook the egg. This is a process called tempering. Now you don't want to overmix, because if you overmix a cake mix, it makes the cake pretty tough, because it'll develop the gluten. So you want to mix it just enough, but not too much. Which, how do you tell? I really don't know. So it appears as if everything is, well, put a little more flour in there. All right, we put it into a cake pan. I usually just use this glass Pyrex. It says to leave enough room for the topping later. What do you want me to say?
Nothing. You're fine.
Just making sure we get every last bit. Oh, they're so weird. Smells really good already. Must be the homemade vanilla. All right, so now we put it into the oven, which is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. And we'll do this for 30 minutes until it's almost done, but not quite. So in the meantime, I'll get a little bit cleaned up and we'll see you back in 30 minutes. I feel like I'm not being as funny as I usually am. So let's see, where we left off in terms of our journey for baby, we were in discussions with a lovely couple who were going to donate their remaining embryos to us. And in April, we transferred our first embryo and that stuck. And so now we are expecting a healthy baby boy in January. COVID finally got us a week before our transfer. I was so generous as to share my COVID with my husband. And he unfortunately wasn't able to come to the doctor's office, so my best friend came. First trimester was pretty awful. I had very severe morning sickness to the point where I lost 7 to 10 pounds and had to get regular IV fluids. So over the course of pregnancy so far, we've been able to watch the development through ultrasound, and at 6 weeks it just looked like a little line. Then at 7 weeks it looked more like a spaceship. And then the next one was 10 weeks and he looked like a gerbil, and then he started to look much more human. Recently we have started to feel him roll and I can feel the baby kick. It's a little bit shocking. But very neat at the same time, and also very reassuring. Real world baking. Whoa, that pops up. What?
Uh-oh, what happened?
My center of balance goes away when you're pregnant. Flopped.
What were you just trying to do there?
Just take a look look at the cake.
Oh. Do you need help out?
Yes.
There you go.
So for what we put on top of the cake, we're gonna take the brown sugar, the milk, the butter, and the coconut, put it all in a pot and bring it to a boil. I probably should have chopped up the butter to make this go a little faster. It's fine. Real world baking. So John, what were you saying about what Dom and Billy were saying about this cake in their podcast, which will be linked below?
Was I saying about it?
Yeah, you were saying how much they liked it.
They said it was amazing. The best thing that they ever had.
Thanks. It's going real slow. So when the instructions say bring to a boil, it makes you think that this will be liquid, but it's not. So we'll kind of see what this ends up looking like.
Are you doing this over a high or low heat?
Medium heat.
Can you say it like I didn't just ask the question?
Oh. I'm doing this over a medium heat. So I'm starting to get bubbles along the side. Basically becomes a coconut caramel sauce. I want to make sure that I don't burn the sugar. Probably just have to use best judgment as to when to pull this off. That feels right. So we just take it off the heat, and once the timer runs out for the cake, we'll pull the cake out and top it with this mixture. Oh man, this is heavy. Sorry, I might need your help.
Teamwork.
Makes the dream work on the dream cake. Oh, so we also have to bump the temperature of the oven up to, well, it's 225 degrees Celsius, which is about, hey Siri, what is 225 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? About 440 Fahrenheit, but our oven runs a little bit cool, so I'm just gonna bump it up to 450. Our oven is cheap. Keeping it classy. Hey, buds. Oh, thank you.
Is Hank a good assistant?
Oh, Hank's the best assistant. All right, so we are putting this cake back in the oven for 6 minutes. Come here, buddy. Oh.
People are really gonna see all the weirdness now.
He loves playing. Hey. Oh, it's time. Whoa. So now we're just gonna wait for the dream cake to cool, and then we get to try it.
What are we gonna see today?
Preston tricks.
Use
We are
full
gonna see.
Use full sentences, please.
All right, we're gonna show you some Preston tricks. Shake, shake. Awesome. Awesome. This isn't gonna work. Can you just use some of the footage that we take in the bedroom?
Okay, buddy. Shake. Good boy. Paw? Good boy. Give me your nose. Good boy. You high five? Oh, good boy. Awesome. Good boy. Fist bump. Good boy. Back, back, back. Back, back, back. Good boy. Hop, hop, hop. Good boy. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. You got it. You got it. Good boy. Good boy, Presto. Good boy. Want to clean up? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good cleanup. You do a very good job of cleaning up.
Okay, we've been letting the cake cool for a few hours now. We had dinner, and now we're back and ready for dessert. But before we get to cutting the cake, we are tying this video into our baby shower. And so I just want to say thank you for joining us. So I guess there's nothing else to do except cut the cake. Oh, wait, take a picture, cut the cake, and oh, no, I want to go back. So there's nothing left to do except for cut the cake, take a picture, and have a taste. All right, so what I'm looking at here, the sugar has a nice hard crack finish, and we'll just dig in. Feels gooey down below, nice and crispy up top. Let me get a spatula. Knew I forgot something. The cake looks really nice and airy, and looks like some of the syrup may have soaked in. Only have a little bit of sticking to the bottom. Not quite the most perfect piece, but we're gonna work with it because this is real world baking. So let's take a picture. So now it's time for the most important part, which is to have a taste. So it's sweet, and there is that goo of the caramel, and you can taste a little bit of coconut. It's not really strong in the coconut, which I'm sure John will appreciate because coconut isn't quite his favorite, but he was relying on Billy and Dom as this being their favorite cake.
They said it was amazing. The best thing that they ever had.
The cake is super fluffy and light and tastes just slightly of vanilla, so it's a really nice neutral backdrop to all the good crunchy gooey bits on top. What do you think?
Lovely, lovely.
So as someone who's not such a big fan of coconut, what's your take?
I'd give that an 8.5 out of a 10.
Way to go, Billy and Dom. You made a great suggestion.
They said it was amazing. The best thing that they ever had.
Thank you again so much for joining us. As a reminder, please like, subscribe, and leave us a comment on this video letting us know what you'd like to see for next time. Also, if you happen to make this cake, please let us know how it went and what you think. We're gonna link the recipe and the episode of the friendship onion below. Have a great evening.